Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to the biggest stars of some of my favourite people and a hugely popular lady. Charlotte Jaconelli, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Firstly, you're delicious. Congratulations. It must be nice to be beautiful.
Oh, really? That's a compliment. I'll take that.
I think it helps, doesn't it? And especially something about classical singers. When you've got talent and beauty, it's the ultimate combination that seems to work. And I know in your career, I look at your fan base and it is remarkable. Mm-hmm. You're in our top 10 most listened to interviews ever. And we've been all over the world. Just the other week, we did Petula Clark to Scylla to anybody. We've done them all. And it's amazing, the fan base. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's very lovely.
Is it fun being you? Here we are sat in 2016, 2012. There you were on Britain's Got Talent. And you got right through to the end. And you did so well. And you're still at it. I guess you're living the dream.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I've had such a great run coming off of the show. And I'm just very fortunate to have kept the ball rolling up until now and beyond, I suppose.
It's a big day for you tomorrow, your 21st birthday.
I know.
Let's talk about that. What will you be doing?
Tomorrow, I'm being very civilised. I'm going for dinner with the family. I'm coming into London, I think, tomorrow afternoon for some food. So nothing too hefty tomorrow. And then Thursday, I'm going to party. That's when I'm going to party.
How outrageous are your parties? I mean, does it end up with an ambulance home or a police van?
I'm yet to be in an ambulance, yet to be in a police car. I mean, sometimes they can get quite messy, but I think now that we've got the night tube, there's a way home, so it's fine. There's no hanging around waiting for a cab at 2 o'clock in the morning. We've got the tube now.
Do you pinch yourself when you look at your career? Because to have a career at 40 that's as successful as yours is one thing, to have it at 30 is another, but then at 19 and 18 to be on a national TV show and selling out live gigs is remarkable, isn't it?
It's insane. I think it's something that I never expected to happen so soon in my career. It's something that I'd always dreamed that I would get at some point, like after I'd been to like university or something. But to have started then and be doing that and still doing that, it's the weirdest feeling. And most people that I end up working with are a lot older than me as well. So I feel like I've just like grown up really quickly, I suppose.
And you have such a likability. I think one of the reasons you have such a fan base, when we look at the songs you sing, they're very important and grand, but you've got that common touch, which I think people really love. And that's important, isn't it? You've got to be accessible to your audience, especially with the type of music you sing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'm coming from like an Essex background. I think I have no choice but to be grounded and have that inch of commonness in there. But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's so funny. It was like, there was a gig I did once where I was like so nervous, and the more nervous I get, the more my Essex accent comes out. And I went on stage to sing I Could Have Danced Tonight from My Fair Lady. And I sang this really posh song and in my RP accent and everything, giving it life. And then afterwards I was like, thank you so much. And I was like, oh my God. And I came off and my mum was like, what on earth was that accent? What were you doing? So yeah, it just happens.
Well, it's worked for Adele, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's weird. There seems to be so many people that are from that kind of neck of the woods that seem to be doing stuff. So yeah, worked for Adele, worked for Amy Winehouse. Charlotte Jaconelli is attempting.
Would you ever be interested in something like Towie or one of those dreadful programmes?
I don't think that's necessarily for me. I mean, I've got some friends on that show and people that I went to school with actually that are on Towie. And you know what, for them it's done wonders, and like they've set themselves up these careers and they've got these massive amounts of fans and great. I don't think I'd ever really fit into one of those shows. Maybe I can perfect my accent and go into Made in Chelsea at some point.
Let's talk about your childhood, because really this is no surprise you're sat here talking about music today, because you always wanted to do this, and this is all you've ever really done, isn't it?
Yeah. I've never done anything else other than sing. Like I said, like from the age I think of 5 or 6, I was like, Mum and Dad, that's what I'm doing, and they were like, okay, and I was like, no, really, it's what I'm going to do. And I've never ever attempted to try and even consider doing anything else, because I kind of put myself in this mindset of like, if I want to do it, it has to be the focus and I can't even consider doing anything else. And it's kind of always been that way, and here I am doing it. So it's good.
And then we look at your first love. Is it classical music you love the most or musical theatre? Because it seems like musical theatre is something you adore.
Musical theatre, it's weird. Musical theatre has been what's been with me since I was very, very young. So it kind of holds a very special place in my heart in terms of it's the first time I got up and sang in a show, it was a musical, and that was in my head what I was only ever going to do. And it wasn't actually until Britain's Got Talent, actually, that I was really introduced to classical music. I'd kind of dabbled into it because singing teachers had told me that my voice suited it. And then from the show, now the classical music holds a very special place in my heart, but for a very different reason, because it was kind of the turning point, I suppose, for me to get into the industry. So I don't know, like I love them both, but for different things. And I think at different points in my life, they'll come in use for what I want to do.
And then, of course, we mentioned earlier the Britain's Got Talent thing, which is probably the reason we're sat here. To break through is almost impossible now without one of those reality shows. 2 hit albums with Jonathan and then one by yourself is an incredible achievement. As you look back on it now, is it a blur? Is it something that you love? Do you wish you hadn't done it? Are you proud of doing it?
I'm very, very proud of the experience I had, and it taught me so much. Like, there were things that I learned through doing that process that I don't think you can learn in anything else. And I owe so much to the show and what I did on the show for where I am now. As you say, like, I probably wouldn't be sat here had I not done a show like that, or definitely not at this point in my career. I think it's weird. It's one of those things where sometimes you bump into people and they see it as a really positive thing and other people see it as a really negative thing, and I think that's just something that you have to learn to balance out. For me, it's always been a positive thing, and I'm very grateful that I got the opportunities that I got from the show.
And of course with Jonathan you made your name and you had those 2 wonderful albums, and he's doing his thing and you're doing your thing now. Are you still in touch? Is there any chance you'd ever get back together, or are you happy just doing your own thing?
It's weird. Like, I realised the other day that it's been 3 years since we stopped singing together, and I mean, for me it's definitely something that I would never say never to anything. You never know what happens in the future, you never know where you're going to be or what you're going to be doing or what you want to do. I just think because at the time when we decided to go off and do our own thing, we were very adamant that Johnny wanted to do really hardcore opera and I wanted to do the more crossover musical theatre style, and that's just, unfortunately, when you're in a duet and you both want to do different things, it's kind of hard to stay together and keep making music. So I don't know, for the moment I'm really happy doing what I'm doing, but as I say, I'd never say never.
And then we look at those 2 albums. When you listen to them back, I guess you've got to have huge pride because they did so well and sold so well. There's no denying the success, is there?
No, like, we did incredibly well together, really, really did, and the 2 albums, as you say, were very successful. And I listen back to the songs and I'm just like, our voices just do sound good together, and it's nice to actually have those 2 albums, knowing that they've done so well, and have them as a memento, I suppose. But it's lovely. I'm very proud of the success that we had together.
What's the next goal, or is it just to carry on doing what you're doing?
The next big goal for me is I want to do a West End show. Definitely want to do a West End show, and I want to keep gigging with my classical music as well, which is, fortunately, they're 2 things that kind of come hand in hand. I can keep gigging until I ultimately get the West End show, and then the next goal will happen after that, and finding new goals and new drives continuously.
And what's your dream gig? Is it Les Mis? I know that's one of your favourites.
Yeah, Les Mis is a definite dream, and Phantom of the Opera as well. They're the 2 shows that I'm adamant at some point will happen.
Even if you have to pay Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Literally, yeah. Where is he now? Get him on the phone. But yeah, no, they're 2 that I'm very determined to.
How do you rate your voice? Because when I listen to it, it's so amazing. What do you see it as? Something that's just a gift that you do and you open and it's there, or is it something you have to constantly work at?
It's a weird one. I am my biggest critic. So it's weird. When I'm performing, I don't think about what I'm doing. I don't think about criticising myself. I just do it and I enjoy it while I'm there in the moment, but I will always listen back to everything that I do and literally pick it apart like you wouldn't believe. And I think definitely when I've got a long string of gigs, it's very much like no dairy, no alcohol, no this, can't be around people that smoke, it's a very strict regime, I suppose. But I think you've also got to realise for yourself that you have to have fun and do things that normal people do. But it's difficult because you never know when an audition's going to come up, you never know when a gig's going to come up, so it's like balancing that side of things. But yes, definitely my self's biggest critic. I don't think I've ever listened to something and been happy with it. So
that's a shame, though. You've got to appreciate your gift and your genius, because if not, you'll constantly be disappointed in yourself, won't you?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there's definitely, I think it's more a case of going, I sang that song, I achieved it. I don't think I could have sang that song a year ago, and now I can sing it. I suppose that side of it is where you give yourself some praise. But I think it's also that weird thing, whereas if you were ever satisfied with a song, you'd stop working on it. And I think like even songs that I've sung from years and years ago, like even the prayer, when I sing it with other people other than Johnny, I always try and listen back and work on it and go, what can I do better next time? What can I change? How can I make it different? Because otherwise you kind of feel like you're just copying what you did the time before and never improving with it, I suppose.
Tell us about some of the people you've done duets with, both male and female. You've had some incredible gigs where you've got to work with these people. I guess for anybody of your caliber, that's the affirmation, isn't it? When you're up with people you respect and you're on stage with them.
Yeah, I mean, when I've got to do gigs alongside people like Russell Watson and Catherine Jenkins and Daniel, who I sang with last year, who was actually, oddly, it's so weird that we're now friends because he was someone that I looked up to as someone in the West End, and it's just weird, like, to now be working with people, as you say, that I've always looked up to and wanted to do what they do. And then when you're stood there on a billing with these people and you're just like, how on earth did I get here? But it's it's amazing, and you learn from people as well. You learn from people who have had different experience or more experience, and to be able to have, like, I suppose, on my CV that I've worked with these people, for me, is fantastic. So I'm very lucky.
And what have you got on your iPad? What are you listening to as you came into the hotel today?
Oh, I like a bit of loads of different things, actually. Oddly, one of the only things I don't really listen to is like top 20 stuff. But I mean, musical theatre, classical, indie stuff, rock band stuff. I was listening to Two Door Cinema Club before I got here. I was like, oh, it's sunny. I'll put on like a really fun, fast band. But yeah, no, it's weird. I don't really have like a specific thing that I listen to. I usually just go on Spotify and type in chill playlist, getting ready playlist, and then just press play and hope for the best.
Lazy but good. That's
exactly. Well, I also think that way you get introduced to things that you wouldn't usually listen to, because otherwise you can go into default mode. If I like this person, I'll just listen to all of their stuff. And I actually find it quite hard to listen to one person's album from beginning to end. So I like to have a variety. Me
too. There aren't many albums where every song's a hit, is it?
Yeah, it's true though. It is true. It's difficult because you'll go through and you'll skip like number 5, won't you? I don't know. It's weird. There's some shows I can listen to from beginning to end because I feel like I've been watching the show. But I think like indie pop albums, sometimes I find it a bit difficult.
And when you hear yourself back, is that fun? And then when you see yourself in newspapers, is that fun? Because this is extraordinary to other people, but to you it becomes normal.
I don't think it's ever become normal. It's still fun. Like whenever I see like something pop up on a Google or like on Twitter and Facebook of interviews or pictures, or I still find it very strange. Like, because for me, sometimes I just forget that I've done what I've done, and I just feel like, oh, today's another normal day. And then you realise, and I think back, and then I see pictures of myself on red carpets and doing all these things, and I'm like, oh God, I hope I don't bump into anyone because I don't look like that on a normal day. But it's all fun. It's all been fun from day one. It's just, that's why you do it, isn't it? That's why you pick a career like this, I suppose, because you enjoy doing it.
On the eve of your 21st birthday, what are the moments that already would be chapter 1 of your autobiography? Is there one thing that was particularly amazing, or are there too many to count?
God, there's so many. I mean, ultimately, BGT is always a massive part of it, but I think getting to perform on West End stages in concerts and the Royal Albert Hall, I think, and I went to New York last year, which was like always a massive, massive dream of mine, and I got to sing at a venue called 54 Below, which was like the place that for the last like 4 years or however long I've been like wanting to perform there and getting to do something like that. So I suppose being stood in Times Square. I sang in Times Square, actually. That was really odd. That was how I opened it. Always ultimately dreamed to sing in Times Square, and I did. So yeah, I don't know. There's so many things that I would want to put in something like that.
Then we look at tomorrow and your birthday and the pride of your family. I guess your mum, who I know when you were in BGT you were living with. Are you still living with your mum?
I'm still living with my mum. Well, technically I'm not. Technically I should be living in the flat that I live in the other side of London, but I go home like every week for at least 4 days. So I live at home more than I live in my own flat. So that's a bit weird.
What's the point of that then? I mean, you're wasting rent. You could be flying around the world with this money.
I know. I debate it all the time. I was like, no, I need to grow up and move out, and then realise that I miss my mum too much. So, I'm just a home girl. I think I'm always going to be a home girl. And I think also I've got such young siblings as well that I find it difficult to stay away. So maybe at some point, like I'll like pluck the courage to go away for like at least 7 days in a row, but I just can't. I just don't see that happening.
Or perhaps when your brothers or sisters are 18, they can move in with you and your mum can stay.
Exactly. And then I won't have to leave anyone ever. When my sisters were actually down for a sleepover, they came over on Friday and stayed for 3 days. And I was like, how did this work out? How did I get the kids for a whole weekend and they're not mine?
How old are they now?
7 and 13. So
they must be incredibly proud when they look at you and watch those videos and all the YouTube clips and stuff.
Yeah. No, they are. They're so sweet. And I think what's quite nice as well is I think that for the two of them, performing arts was kind of something they just enjoyed doing when they were really little. And I think the stage of them growing up is going through seeing me doing stuff and concerts and performing. And I think it's really like spurred them into wanting to do that and finding an enjoyment for it as well, which is really lovely to see.
I always think the more talented you are, the more disciplined you have to be. And I think the kids forget this when they want to go on reality shows or Celebrity Big Brother and get their private parts out.
Yeah.
There's a huge discipline. Do you try and remind them of that it doesn't come easy? And even when you've made it like you now, it's still a fight every day to be successful.
Oh God, 100%. I mean, like my littlest sister, who I say is only 7, she wants me to put her in for Matilda and Les Mis, and I had to sit her down the other day, and I just said to her, I was like, you realise that people audition for years and years for these things. I was like, you might not ever get it. And I was like, it might only be because you're the wrong height or you're not singing the right thing. I was like, but you have to just keep working hard and trying and pushing at it like everyone else. And yeah, I think particularly when kids are young, I think you have to make them realise that it doesn't just come on a plate. And I think that's the weird thing about this industry. I think people who aren't in it look at it and go, oh, it's so glorious, it's so lovely, it's just so, they just do this thing and it's just there, and you forget how much work people have to put in to be where they are. Like, I do endless amount of singing lessons and classes and acting classes and things that I've done throughout my life and then still doing now, because you just have to keep working, and it's continuously pushing yourself to be better.
It's one of the reasons I could never be an actor. That thing that it is so personal. They don't like your height, or they don't like the colour of your hair, or the fact you've got man boobs or back fat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so personal. And next, and then you have to move on. I guess you got to build up that sort of rhinoceros skin so it doesn't get to you.
100%. I mean, I've always been someone who's quite thick-skinned, I suppose, and I'm not much bothers me really, but I mean, ultimately I'm human, and things can affect you, and I just think you have to realise that it's not you, it's just you're not what they're after on that day. And it's like most things, I think, for even people going on reality TV shows, you might just not be what they want on that day, and it is scary when you know it could just come down to like the shape of your eye or your eye colour, or like it's very weird, particularly for TV stuff as well. It's even more, they scrutinise the whole face even more. But I think you just have to have a sense of confidence in yourself and be just be happy in your own skin, and I think that way nothing can really affect you, I suppose.
And then standing in front of the orchestras, and you've performed with some wonderful orchestras, that sound behind you and then the audience in front of you, I guess they're the minutes you live for in your life, are they?
Oh God, yeah. Like the sound of a full orchestra, nothing can compete with that. Particularly, I mean, I did the Royal Albert Hall at Christmas, and there was just a minute halfway through the song, and I just stood there and I looked out, and I really kind of honed in to the sounds that were behind me, and I was like, this is just ridiculous. And you just have those moments where you just, they're the moments that stick with you, and that for me was one of them. And for having a full orchestra, as I say, it's just there's nothing that really compares to that sensation when you're performing.
And what a blessing that it's all about you. And I don't mean that in an ego way, but they're there to make you sound wonderful, and only you can destroy that. And then I wonder about the pressure of it. Do you deal with that better now? How have you made it normal not to just collapse in a heap on the floor?
It's weird. I kind of thrive off of stress and pressure, which I suppose is a good thing for the career that I've chosen. But yeah, I don't know. I like, if I'm not stressed and if I'm not under pressure, there's nothing pushing me, I suppose, nothing driving me. So I actually find that I end up probably freaking out and getting a bit more nervous if there's no stress. But I think coping wise, I think you just have to breathe and just go, take it for what it is. It's a couple of minutes, and if it goes wrong, you got loads more minutes left. So it's
and only
fine.
50 million people will see it when it goes viral on YouTube.
Well, that's the thing with YouTube and things like that now, you can't hide anything. And once it's up. There's just, people have seen it and there's nothing you can do about it. So I suppose that pressure of it is quite difficult. But I mean, nothing will ever scare me as much as live TV. So I think concerts and stuff, when things go wrong, you can kind of fluff over it and pretend it didn't happen and cover it with a really bad joke afterwards.
And privately with boyfriends and all that, I mean, have you found happiness? Are you where you want to be in your life, or is it constantly evolving?
I'm very happy where I am in my life at the moment, I think, but things always change, that things happen, and I just try and be positive about everything that happens in my life and see the good in everything, I suppose. But I know I'm very happy. I've got my family, my friends, my boyfriend. I'm in a good place, which is good.
It seems to me you have everything. I mean, there are a lot of fakes out there. We were talking about it before the interview, who claim they're big stars, who claim they're successful, and actually you dig just very briefly under the surface and there's nothing there. I mean, you've got a huge fan base, and I guess there's no recipe to that. I asked somebody earlier who's a big star around the world, and I said, how do you create your fame? And you can't. They either like you or they don't.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to get fans. I suppose you can keep putting your music out and plugging it to new people, but it doesn't mean people are going to like it, and you just kind of have to sit there and go, it's like a casting thing. You just might have the wrong sound for that person and it might not be what they like, and it's just you're in a very lucky position if you've got a group of people that are very supportive and follow your music and follow what you do, and I'm very lucky to have people that are very lovely and very supportive.
You're so stunningly talented. Congratulations on everything. I wish you all the best. Let's do some pluggery for you. What have you got coming up that we can help with?
I just recently recorded a duet with my friend Jai McDowell for two of my friends, Dan and Laura Curtis's new musical theatre album, which is out in October. So that's a duet. It's called Sunshine, and it's very lovely, and I'm very excited for everyone to hear it.
We'll put a link on the website. Just go to celebrityradio.biz and we'll put the link there. Congratulations again. Really, your popularity has amazed me and many others. You're right up there with the greatest and the best, and that's a testament to your wonderful voice and talent. It's lovely meeting you again, Charlotte. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much.